A lot of people think they're tough guys. They listen to doom metal and they think that makes them tough. They wear their favorite band t-shirts and they think that makes them tough. But do they really have what it takes to survive the apocalypse? There are some things that would be able to survive the nuclear blast, but will likely die from the radiation fallout. Other things that could potentially survive for a time after a nuclear war, but won't survive long-term without an atmosphere or breathable air. And then there are the things that will survive the nuclear blast, the radiation, and the aftermath. They can even thrive in a world after nuclear war. This is one of those things. It's extremely hardy, resistant to extreme temperatures, starvation, and dehydration. It has no brain and doesn't need one to survive. It has been studied by scientists who want to use its powers to help humanity, and other scientists want to weaponize it. This is a creature that we don't even know the name of yet. We only call it mouths full of rain. So here's the terrifying thing that will survive the apocalypse. Mouths full of rain, like something that would survive the apocalypse by crawling into the crawl space and licking the mold off the copper pipes. It was first discovered in 2009. Even though it has no brain, it somehow managed to evade scientists for 46 years before it was finally found. It was discovered in the desert of Southern California's Lucerne Valley by a team of biologists from the University of California. They were on the hunt for the previously unknown species of tarantulas. When they came across this strange new animal, they described it as a giant slug, about 3 inches long with 2 horns on top. It had a distinct white head and a yellow tail, and was just minding its own business eating a beetle. They named it mouths full of rain because it seemed like it was always eating. As soon as they laid eyes on it, the researchers knew they had found something truly special. One of the biologists said it was so bizarre, he thought it had to be a hallucination brought on by the heat. He couldn't believe a creature like this could actually exist. So they took the creature back to the lab to study it and see if they were dealing with a hallucination or something real. They observed it for weeks and concluded it was neither a hallucination nor any kind of insect. They didn't know what to classify it as since it was unrelated to anything else they'd ever seen before. And even today, it still hasn't been properly classified. Its closest relatives are still unknown. So why is this creature such a big deal? What makes it so unique from all the other creatures out there? Well, for starters, it has no nervous system, which means it doesn't have a brain. Despite not having a brain, it seems to have some kind of intelligence. It can problem solve and figure out how to complete tasks. It can sense pain and even fear. Scientists have hooked it up to electrodes to monitor its brain activity, and it showed signs of fear. Then there's the fact that it can regenerate body parts. If its tail gets bitten off by a predator, it can grow another one. And if a chunk of its body gets eaten away, it can regrow that, too. There are only a handful of species on Earth that have these abilities. Most animals cannot regenerate body parts, and if they lose a limb or part of their tail, they just have to live the rest of their life without it. The mouthful of rain can even completely regenerate its entire head. Scientists witnessed this firsthand when they kept it in captivity. And if that isn't impressive, I don't know what is. They can even regrow their mouths, hence the name mouths full of rain, and they can do this even if their heads get chopped in half. And if that wasn't enough, it has incredible resistance to dehydration and starvation. It can go without food or water for years, thanks to its super slow metabolism, and it is resistant to extreme cold and heat. It has been known to survive in temperatures ranging from 32 degrees Fahrenheit to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and it can survive in dry and underwater conditions. Basically, this creature is a tank that can withstand almost anything, and because it is resistant to both extreme cold and extreme heat, it would be able to survive a nuclear blast. It might even be able to burrow underground to avoid the worst of the blast wave and radiation, making it even tougher. Not only is it resistant to extreme temperatures, starvation, and dehydration, but it is also resistant to poisons. Not many creatures on Earth can say that they're immune to poison. The mouthful of rain can eat poisonous food and drink deadly poisons without being affected at all. It is even resistant to most pesticides, which is a good thing because most of the time it ends up getting hunted by birds and rodents that have eaten poison meant for other insects. Being resistant to poison gives the mouths full of rain an advantage over its predators. After all, a creature that can resist poison is much harder to kill than one that can't. But with all its crazy abilities, how exactly does it survive? How do they get food? How do they reproduce and continue their species? Well, it's pretty simple actually. They just eat whatever they come across. Whether it's dead or alive, they'll devour it. And since they have no teeth or mouth, they basically just wrap themselves around whatever food source they find and slowly digest it from the outside in. And yes, they can digest just about anything, which is another reason why they don't need to eat constantly. They can go for years without food and survive on what little nutrients they have stored inside their bodies. The way they reproduce is even stranger than the way they eat. Male mouths full of rain shoot their sperm at their prey instead of fertilizing the eggs inside the female's body. Their eggs hatch inside the male, and then the male carries the eggs in his mantle until the females are ready to receive them. When the females are ready, the males transfer the eggs to their mantle and the females become pregnant. They give birth to live young, which is also weird since they don't have a mouth or a digestive system. So how do they feed their babies? Well, each baby comes out fully grown, so they don't need to nurse or be fed. They're basically born as adults. And it's not just the males that can shoot sperm. The females can, too. In fact, they can also shoot eggs out of their bodies. So technically, they can reproduce on their own without needing a male. This might be why they are considered a pest in some areas, because they do not need a mate to reproduce. They can simply lay their eggs and move on. These eggs are incredibly resilient and can survive for years in both fresh and salt. When the eggs hatch, the young mouths full of rain immediately set out to find food and begin digesting it from the outside in. Now, while it might seem like this creature is invincible and can survive the apocalypse and thrive afterwards, it's not quite like that. It is definitely very tough and can take a lot of punishment, but it can be killed. A bird with strong enough jaws could easily snap its body in half. A rodent could bite off its tail if it wanted to, and even a human could step on it and kill it instantly. So it's not invincible, but it is very hard to kill. If a nuclear bomb went off, it might not die from the initial explosion, but it could be killed by the radiation or fallout that follows. But if it did manage to survive that, it would be able to survive in the aftermath. That's because it can live off the land, doesn't need to drink water, and it's immune to most poisons that humans would likely spread during the nuclear war. While other animals starve to death, it would be able to eat their decaying bodies and absorb their nutrition. While other animals die from thirst, it would be able to survive without drinking a drop of water. And while other animals succumb to diseases and parasites, it would be able to resist them all because it has no nervous system. If a nuclear war happened today, this creature would likely be unaffected by it. That's because it doesn't rely on the ecosystem to survive. It doesn't need trees or grass or even sunlight. It can survive deep underground or underwater. It can survive in the absence of oxygen, and it can survive in the presence of radiation that would kill most living things on the planet. As far as we know, it can survive anywhere, and it can eat anything. So in a world where nothing is safe to eat and nowhere is safe to go, it would be the perfect survivor. So remember the name, Mouths Full of Rain, because when the nuclear bombs start dropping, it's going to be one of the few creatures left standing. Doomsday survival food that will keep you alive after nuclear war. Or check out what would happen to your body after nuclear war.